Jessica, the girl next door, here with someone that you all have probably heard on the Morning Madhouse. He has been checking in with us since the start of this pandemic, making sure that our community is educated on all things COVID-19. Dr. Williams, I call him my cuz. Hey, cuz.
Hey guys, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I am wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for taking time out. I'll share a quick story. So, I woke up one morning getting ready to head back into work. And it was my first week back. It was a Wednesday. And I wake up fairly early. So it was about 4 a.m. No, it was about 3 a.m. as a matter of fact. And hopped in the shower and realized immediately that I could not smell my soap. I am a scent girl. I keep candles, lotions, shower gels, scrubs, all that. I spray lavender on my pillows at night. I am a scent girl. So the fact that I could not smell my soap, I was like, oh, hold on. Something's up. Got out of the shower, went to my kitchen. I also keep gummy bears in my house at all times. So I went for my gummy bears, realized that I could not taste my gummy bears. Immediately woke my boyfriend up and said, I cannot smell or taste. And was feeling a little icky that day, but sort of chopped it up to my body getting used to me waking back up so early.
Early, right.
Yeah, that was 2 hours earlier than I was normally waking up because I didn't have to go into the studio. So I wasn't getting dressed, wasn't traveling or anything like that. So I sort of chopped it up to maybe that's why my body is feeling icky, but I didn't, I didn't want to risk it. So I decided not to go in that day. I decided not to go into work that day. And I called Larry and Burpee and I said, hey, I'm going to sit out. I'm going to broadcast from home and just to be on the safe side. And they said, okay. I had been doing it for months anyway. So the show starts. We kick the show off at 5:50. We end the show at 10 o'clock. By 10 o'clock, I literally had my head down on my kitchen table with my, holding the mic up. I was sick. Headache, chills, fever, sore throat, fatigue, body aches. I felt horrible. I got in my bed and I went to sleep. And I slept until about 7 o'clock that night. I only woke up to get something to eat and went right back to sleep. The next day, I immediately went and got tested. And spent the weekend. It was 4th of July weekend, but I spent the whole weekend in my house. From Wednesday when I realized this might be COVID, I did not leave my house. And then when I woke up, and then I got my results back on that Sunday.
Right.
Sunday.
When we spoke.
I got the results back on that Sunday, and both of us went and got tested. My boyfriend and I both went and got tested, but I was the only one that got my results back, and they came back positive. Well, the first person I called was my cousin, Dr. Williams. I called you because what I realized was now that I'm actually in it, I have a whole nother world of questions. Like I said, we have been talking since March about COVID and what to do and what it is and how to stay safe. But now that you actually have it, a whole nother world of questions arise. And you answered the phone and you walked us through it because I was like, well, I'm positive. He might be negative. His results haven't come in. What do we do? How do we handle this? You made me feel very comfortable. You made him feel very comfortable, and you walked us through that. So for that, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for doing that for us.
My pleasure. Here to serve.
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get on here and talk to you and chat with you and have a conversation is because in addition to me having so many questions, as I begin to share my story, so many people were asking me, well, what about this? What about that? What about this? And I was like, oh, we need to get the story about in COVID. When you're in COVID, we need to get that story out and talk about that. It's a lot of prevention conversations.
And a lot of education for prevention, correct.
But what happens when you're actually in it? So one of the very first things that we talked that came up was labeling of positive people for COVID, symptomatic, asymptomatic, and things like that. So can you break that down? What does that mean? And with the different labels, do those people have to quarantine the same way?
So first of all, I want to say thank you for one, sharing your story. Why is that so very important? Because for some individuals, not all, for some individuals, it's still affecting other people, right? It's not me, it's not my family, it's not really real. Yes, I hear about it, yes, I understand it, but it doesn't really have any connection. But because of you and sharing your story and your platform and all the connectivity that you have deep in the communities, it's a real important story to share because people can connect with you. People can understand, oh my goodness, this happened to Miss Jessica. Let me lean in and listen a little bit more. Let me educate myself, maybe educate my community, my household. Before I go into the symptoms, asymptomatic and symptomatic, I also want to bring into the room the fact that because of your awareness, right? Think about what you said, Jessica. You said, I didn't feel well that Wednesday. I knew some of the symptoms. Loss of taste, loss of smell. I felt not so great. And what did you do? You stayed at home. You stayed. I don't want that to slip underneath the radar. Because you were educated about the symptoms, you said something is not right here. Let me stay at home. Let me figure this out. I will broadcast from home. And so that was huge because think of the potential exposure to other individuals, whether it be in your community, walking out of your home, walking into the radio station, whatever transportation that you use to get to your place of employment. You really help the community. So I just wanted to share that with you and your audience, that it's very important to make sure that we're educated on the signs and symptoms of potential COVID infection. Now, to your point, there are individuals, and I would say the vast majority of individuals are asymptomatic who have COVID-19 exposure and are positive to COVID-19. What do I mean by asymptomatic? Well, you mentioned I had some fever, I had some body aches, loss of smell, loss of taste. For some people, there's cough and shortness of breath, okay? And so if you have COVID-19 and you do not have any of those symptoms, that's what we mean by asymptomatic. Asymptomatic, no symptoms. Now, an individual who's asymptomatic still can pass the virus to someone else that then can cause other medical problems. So while an individual, and usually it's a younger person, right? Younger persons are typically asymptomatic. Now, don't get me wrong, we do have young folks that are succumbing to this virus. We have to take it seriously. Teenagers, young folk, you have to take this seriously, because if you catch COVID-19 and you bring it home to your parents, your grandparents, those are the individuals that are having the most trouble with COVID-19. Those are the individuals that are usually hospitalized on ventilators and prolonged care. The individuals who are older with medical problems, diabetes and lung problems, those are the individuals that really get sick. And the young folk can transmit it easily to those individuals. So it's important to practice physical distancing, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Hand hygiene and masking, which is a big topic that we want to get into. It's very important for those individuals to practice those types of activities, whether you're symptomatic or asymptomatic.
And so we have asymptomatic and we have symptomatic. Do those people, so say I go get tested, I'm not showing any signs, I'm asymptomatic. My partner is showing signs, so he's symptomatic. Do we quarantine the same way? And for the same
first, first and foremost, that's a great question, which is the question that came up that Sunday when we had that conversation, right? So first and foremost, I would say everybody in the household should put a mask on. Okay, symptomatic or asymptomatic, should put a mask on. Now, in your particular instance where you tested positive and your significant other tested negative, as best you can, remain separate within your household. So if there's another room that, and don't get me in trouble now, if there's another room that he has to go to and stay in for 14 days, or you have to go in and stay in 14 days, then so be it. But what's most important, because not everybody has the ability to physical distance in their household, it's vitally important that both of you wear a mask, okay? Especially the one that is infected, but it's just as important for the one that is not infected to wear a mask. The second thing that's really important is disinfecting common areas. So refrigerator handles, the sink, bathrooms, common hallways, doorknobs, things of that nature, remote controls on televisions, things of that nature. If someone is infected in a household, significant cleaning of common areas on a regular basis throughout the day is very, very important to keep the burden of virus down. And so those are the main things that individuals can do if there's someone in their household that is known to be infected with COVID. Masks first and foremost, all the time, okay? Quarantining separate quarters for at least 14 days, and depending on what's going on, sometimes it may be longer if symptoms are still persisting, and engaging in high levels of hygiene and care, hand washing, disinfecting surfaces, and things of that nature. Very, very important.
Now, let me tell you, I had you on speakerphone when I talked to you on that Sunday so that my boyfriend could hear, because he also had questions. And when you said that, he immediately went and got his mask and put it on. And I was like, oh, this is really happening. This is really happening.
Don't get me in trouble once again.
But he went and he got his mask, and I was like, okay. And I went and I got my mask, and I literally, for those 14 days, quarantined in our bedroom. I did not leave our bedroom. And that's the other part that, for me, I've been trying to express to people, is the quarantine piece. We think about the sickness, but the actual quarantine piece of being in one space for 14 days, not interacting, that is another part of COVID-19 that people need to take seriously. That whole piece. I didn't leave my room. When it came down to eating, he would bring food to the room, drop it off. I would open up the door, and even then, even though we weren't interacting, he would have his mask on. And things like that. I didn't come out of my room because I didn't want to touch things like the refrigerator handle.
Correct.
So if I got thirsty, I would say, hey, can you bring me a cup of water or something? And I begin to sort of stockpile a little bit of stuff in my room just so that I could have snacks so that I wouldn't bother him.
So those are all the practical things that people need to hear. That's exactly correct. Not everybody has the luxury of having a significant other that can, bring things to the door, leave, and let you bring it into the room. But those practical things, such as stockpiling of food and beverage or water, medications, Tylenol, things of that nature, in a particular quarantined area of your residence, so that you're not going from room to room to room, from bathroom to kitchen to living room to hallway, and potentially spreading the virus. So that's a very important practical way of handling 14 days of being quarantined or isolated in a particular room or location.